received a text message from Andy Signor over at Popcorn Planet saying, hey, have you...
And in a moment of genuine human warmth, she smiled and said, "Congrats on your little bump." Blake was pregnant. It was a kind, offhand compliment. But the way Blake reacted, you'd think Kjersti had thrown a drink in her face. Blake turned, eyed her with pure venom, and shot back, "What about my bump?"
So you got punished basically because she and Parker Posey were being high school mean girl bitches to you. Parker Posey was no better there. She could have actually turned that around or done something to acknowledge you.
Imagine you're sitting at a cafe in Spain, sun on your face, completely disconnected from Hollywood drama, and your phone lights up with a message that makes your stomach drop. Not a warning, not a request, a subpoena. And not just any subpoena, one that demanded Google hand over your private emails, your YouTube history, your phone number, your credit card digits, all of it. That's not a plot twist from a thriller. That's exactly what happened to entertainment journalist Kjersti Flaa, and it was orchestrated by none other than Blake Lively's legal machine. The reason? Kjersti had dared to ask a polite question 8 years ago, and now the star was trying to silence her for good. They got her Google. And here at the CelebTea Files, we don't just cover the drama, we expose what the headlines are hiding. If you're tired of sanitized press releases, hit subscribe and join the troublemakers, because what I'm about to unpack is the real blueprint of celebrity intimidation that nobody else is talking about. To understand why a simple Google subpoena is one of the most chilling things a celebrity can do, you have to rewind to 2016. Kjersti Flaa was a seasoned journalist doing what journalists do, sitting through a press junket for the Woody Allen film Cafe Society, moving from one talent to the next. She sat down with Blake Lively and Parker Posey.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
They are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before twisting the knife with a sarcastic, "Congrats on your bump." Then, she and Posey linked up like high school mean girls, physically turning their bodies away, refusing to make eye contact, and literally pretending the woman asking the questions did not exist.
Began.
Oh my God, so many things was going through my mind. First, when she said, "Congrats on your little bump," I was really taken aback, and I was like, I didn't really register at first because I was like, did she just say that? You know, you're just sitting there and being in those press junkets, you know, there's a lot going on and there's a lot of pressure. There's cameras everywhere, publicists, all these people around you. So you're sitting there being really alert all the time. And then, of course, when I started asking about the costumes, and she basically said, you know, would she ask a man that? And I was like, yes, why wouldn't I ask a man about the costume? Because I'm like a sexist. What went through my mind? I was like, she's kidding. Okay, this is her sense of humor. And then it started getting really uncomfortable because, as you know, they ignored me throughout the entire
The video of that encounter eventually leaked. The publicist let her keep the tape.
But you know what I found really interesting about this whole scenario is that they actually let me keep the tape. You know, because most of the time when celebrities are not behaving the way they should in an interview, the publicist will step in and not give you the tape. So you will not leave that press junket with the actual interview. But they let me keep it, which says a lot about Blake and her publicist as well, probably Leslie Sloan.
Probably because this was just Blake being Blake, and millions saw it. The comment sections exploded. People were horrified. But back then, it was just a viral clip, a cautionary tale about celebrity rudeness. Nobody knew it would become the origin story of a legal vendetta that would stretch years into the future and weaponize the American court system to scare a freelance journalist into silence. And trust me, the next part gets so much worse. Fast forward to late 2024. Blake Lively launches an explosive lawsuit against her It Ends With Us co-star, Justin Baldoni, painting herself as a victim of a toxic set and a smear campaign. The New York Times publishes a bombshell investigative piece. The internet takes sides. And then quietly, in the shadows of that legal blitzkrieg, Blake's team does something that most people missed. They start issuing subpoenas. Not to Baldoni's inner circle, not to studio executives, but to journalists, to YouTubers. to content creators with followings so small, one of them had exactly 1 subscriber. 1.
Are basically forced to hire an attorney. I know that some content creators did it by themselves. One of the people who was subpoenaed, she had 1 follower on YouTube. So it was
Let that sink in. The target list wasn't about gathering evidence of a conspiracy. It was a dragnet designed to scoop up anyone who would ever criticize the Lively Reynolds machine.
Yes. And I think, again, to think about how well matched and well suited Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are, I think they're 2 peas in a pod.
And hit them with the most terrifying weapon a civilian can face, the American legal system. No personal service, no human moment of "you've been served," just an email from Google saying your life is about to be cracked open. And that's where Kjersti Flaa comes in. She wasn't anywhere near the Baldoni case. Her crime was an 8-year-old interview clip.
something like that. I was so shocked. And as you know, they accused me as well in that New York Times article to be part of this underground, untraceable smear machine.
And a YouTube channel where she occasionally commented on entertainment news. But in the new rulebook of celebrity crisis management, past criticism is a future liability. So her Google account got dragged into the net.
Yeah. So she subpoenaed me, like she did with over 100 other journalists and content creators, to get access to my Google and my YouTube, my phone number, my credit card number, everything. So, yeah.
How did the subpoena, in America, they have to physically find you and put the subpoena in your hands and say, you have been served. How did that happen for you? And when?
So that's the thing. What they did was really sneaky. So what they did, they didn't subpoena me personally. They subpoenaed my Google accounts.
A quiet legal team, a sealed document, and suddenly a journalist sitting in Spain was staring at a notification that felt like a home invasion. But here's what nobody is talking about. If a movie star can secretly subpoena a journalist's private emails and YouTube account just because she didn't like an old interview, what's stopping any powerful person from doing the same to you the moment you tweet something they don't like? That's not just Hollywood gossip. That's a door swinging wide open on every ordinary person's privacy. Kjersti's own account of that moment is the stuff of slow-motion horror. She told the story on our show with a stunned calm that makes it even more disturbing. She was abroad, far from American lawyers, when the text from fellow journalist Andy Signor landed. He'd been digging into his own subpoena and reached out to see if she'd been caught up too. She hadn't heard a thing, so she checked her emails, and there it was. A message from Google with legal boilerplate language mentioning Blake Lively and demanding access to her entire digital footprint. Her YouTube, her phone number, her credit card information. A celebrity she'd interviewed once, 8 years ago, was now reaching into her wallet through a third-party corporation. And it got more surreal. When people tried to call the law firm to confirm, the office initially denied knowing anything. Then, under pressure, they admitted it was real. For days, the truth wobbled between this must be a scam and this is actually happening. And while that uncertainty hung in the air, the clock was ticking. Legal fees were piling up, and the message being sent to every small creator who had ever whispered a critical word about Blake Lively was deafening. We can find you, we can drain your bank account, and we don't even have to knock on your door. This is where the story starts bending into the absurd. Because when you hear that Kjersti's legal bill hit up to $10,000 just to fight a subpoena she never should have received, the absurdity crystallizes. $10,000 for a journalist who makes her living producing honest entertainment content. For a woman whose alleged offense was saying congrats on your little bump and later acknowledging on her own show that the experience was hurtful. That's not a damages claim, that's a punishment fee. The moral outrage isn't just that a celebrity tried to silence a reporter, it's that she did so using a system that can bankrupt an ordinary person before they ever get their day in court. And the most chilling detail, one of the other subpoenaed creators had a single YouTube follower. One. This wasn't about extracting valuable evidence, this was psychological warfare, a demonstration.
Yes. So it was obvious what they were trying to do. They were just trying to scare and silence.
A message carved into the side of the internet? Talk about us and we will find a way to make your life hell. And what did they demand? Google accounts, YouTube data, the digital skin of people whose only power was their voice. That's not litigation. That's a celebrity tool designed to strip dissenters of their anonymity and their safety.
And it's a pattern that should make every single person watching right now feel a cold chill. Because if they did it to Kjersti Flaa, they can do it to anyone.
Thank you. Can I just give you this for 1 second? Thank you. You guys can just leave it that way if you want. It'll trail behind me. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Hold on 1 sec. Do you mind fluffing that? I'm so sorry. Perfect. That's
All soft smiles and I'm so shy energy. We saw the clips, the lip-syncing reels, the deaf woman's lip-reading video where Blake is excessively polite to the male attendants fluffing her train. Do you mind fluffing that? I'm so sorry. It was a masterclass in public rehabilitation, crisis management 101, and the contrast between that performance and the reality of what her lawyers were doing behind closed doors isn't just ironic, it's gaslighting on an industrial scale. The public saw a wounded star bravely reclaiming her spotlight. Meanwhile, a journalist in Spain was calling her husband's lawyer friend, terrified, trying to figure out if she could afford to protect her own privacy. The phrase that kept echoing in my head when I heard this part of the story was, she wanted silence, but she created witnesses. She wanted silence, but she created witnesses. The more she tried to shut people up, the louder the truth became. Now, I need you to ask yourself something. We spend a lot of time dissecting celebrity feuds as entertainment, but every so often a story breaks open that's bigger than gossip. This is one of them. Because the question isn't just, did Blake Lively behave badly? The question is, who gave her the right to weaponize the courts against individuals? What does it say about the industry that a star can quietly subpoena a person's Google account without even personally serving them papers? And how many people who got those subpoenas are still silent right now? Not because they have nothing to say, but because they're scared. That's the ticking clock. This isn't over. There are likely dozens of recipients who never spoke up, who saw an email from Google and felt their hearts stop, and who are still processing what happened to them. The Blakes of the world bank on that silence. They need you to feel isolated, to think you're the only one, to panic and comply. But when survivors compare notes, the whole architecture of intimidation crumbles. And here is where the story fully backfires on Blake Lively. Because every attempt to gag people has only proved the very point her critics were making, that the brand of sunny, relatable, nice girl celebrity is a construct.
That's the thing, as far as like relating to it personally, that you see, you have these ideas of people that you're fans of, and then you meet them and get to know them as a person, and oftentimes you're such a greater fan of them as a person than you are as the person that people feel like they know, and that's always... That's always nice and refreshing when you see that.
And beneath it is a woman who will use her considerable power to crush anyone who threatens that image. Think about it. The old interview clip from 2016 was already doing damage to her reputation. The public could see she was cruel to a journalist for no reason. A smarter celebrity would have done a mea culpa, maybe reached out privately to Kjersti and made amends. Instead, years later, her camp doubles down by coming after Kjersti's private data. That's not reputation management, that's self-immolation by legal filing. Every court motion, every subpoena, every sneaky reach into a content creator's inbox became its own piece of evidence in the court of public opinion. People who had never heard of Kjersti Flaa before suddenly had a face and a name for the victim. And the internet, as it does, did its own forensics. The subpoena stories dropped, and the comments shifted from Team Blake to, wait, she went after a small YouTuber's Google account? That's when the sympathy train derailed. She wanted silence, she created witnesses.
Yes. I mean, everything that she's done so far has backfired on her, if you ask me. And every evidence that she brought forward in this case really proved the opposite of what she was trying to prove. Every time she's like, look at this. This is what happened. And everyone's like, well, that actually proves what you did to Justin. Like, all of this that she has done so far has proved her smear.
And those witnesses are now telling their stories on camera to millions. But what about the unanswered question hanging over all of this? If a celebrity can subpoena your private Google account without you even knowing until an email arrives, what else can they do? And what does it say about the broader culture that a woman who publicly preaches empowerment and kindness was, in the shadows, orchestrating a digital strip search of people who had criticized her? I want you to sit with that, because this isn't just a Blake Lively problem. This is a Hollywood problem. This is a power problem.
And the only reason we know any of this is because Kjersti Flaa refused to stay silent. She didn't back down when the legal papers landed. She told her story transparently on our show. She showed the receipts. And by doing so, she exposed something far more damning than a rude interview, a systematic strategy to scare and silence independent media. And now that it's out, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. Before you click away, I need you to do one thing. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you think Blake Lively's legal team crossed a line when they subpoenaed a journalist's Google account? Or was this just aggressive but fair legal strategy? We actually read the comments, and the best ones end up in our next episodes. Then smash that like button, subscribe to the CelebTea Files, and turn on notifications. Because we're the channel that doesn't just report the headlines, we expose the tactics the headlines are hiding. And if there's one thing this story proves, it's that the most explosive drama is never in the press release. It's in the subpoena they thought nobody would find. And we found it. She wanted silence, she created witnesses, and now the whole world is watching.